All right. Testing. We are on day 5,672 of quarantine. Let's see if we're live. Looks like we're live on YouTube, live on Facebook. Uh-oh. Hold up. Pause. Forgot to change the title. All right. Let's see if we're good now. Painting with coffee and tea. Had to make sure those titles were right. Looks like we're up on YouTube again, up on Facebook. Make sure Mixer and Twitch is up before we get started. Let's see. All right. Hello? Can you hear me? Hello from Kenton Avenue. Kenton Avenue, can you hear me all right? Mr. 21214, can you hear me? Set up a new mic for this demo. Just want to make sure that everything's working all right. Yes. All right, you can hear me. Perfect. All right, we're going to wait a little bit while I finish getting myself set up, and then make sure that anyone that wants to join us can join. Sweet. All right, we got quite a few people jumping on already. Glad to have you. My name is Garrett Leo. Thank you for the sparks, Mr. 21214. Making sure we're all good. Yeah, all right. So, my name is Garrett Leo. I'm the art director for CreatiVets. If this is your first stream with us, we will be doing some painting with coffee and tea today. Thank you, Karen Lynn, for telling me that you can hear me fine. I know this is something that I've been saying since last week, that we'll be doing it, coffee and tea paintings. It is finally here. All right, so we're going to be experimenting and exploring the medium of coffee and tea as a creative outlet. Let me open up my window so we get some more light in here so you can see the coffee a little better. All right, there we go. Sweet. All right, so what we're going to be using today, just go over some quick materials. Not everyone has paint readily available at their home if they're just starting their artistic careers. So if you saw our post on Facebook or on Instagram, you have the material list, but I'm just going to quickly go over what I'll be using today. First off, I'm using coffee and I'm using tea. All right, I got some Lipton tea, not a sponsor. Both of these, just for price range, if anyone's curious, together they cost me $7. I believe this one was $3, this was $4. But yeah, I think it was about $7 total for both of these packs. And with this, what I actually used today, I only used about 2 scoops of this. I brewed some coffee with 2 scoops of that, and then I used 4 tea bags from the Lipton tea. Okay, and these are just your standard tea bags, right? So that's what I'll be using to use as our paint today, instead of actually using a paint. I also have a couple other things out on my table. I have my jar full of brushes. I'll be using a bunch of different types of brushes, just kind of exploring them, experimenting with it today. I've only painted with, I believe, tea before, and nothing ever super serious with it. Just kind of played around with it. It's really fun to do, especially if you have some just laying around. Maybe it's getting old. So we're going to explore with the brushes, see what we can do on there. I have a lot of different types of glasses. I tried to pick as many clear ones as I could so that you could see the colors of the tea and the coffee. I'll kind of go over that in a second. But yeah, so I've got some heat resistant, right? I don't want to burn my hands, coffee and tea holders. I also have a little bit of extra just warm water. I did brew coffee and brew some tea. I steeped my tea bags, but this is just some warm water in case I want to thin out anything or just add water to my paper. Okay. I am using a Bristol paper again, right? Do I have it still on? I do. So this is a Bristol paper. I've talked about this for a couple videos. I use this for my ink drawings. I don't actually have watercolor paper in my studio right now. You can order those online from any local art store, most likely. If they're still open, you can order them on their watercolor paper. I'll be using a Bristol paper. The difference between this and like a printer paper or a newspaper is it's a little bit more durable, right? This is like a cardstock. It's a heavier weighted paper so that it could absorb a little bit more water and it won't kind of fall apart. And here's an example of the same paper I used for our painting with watercolor demo, right? It has curved a bit. You can just flatten it down and pile a couple big heavy books on it and it'll flatten it back out. I just hung it on my wall, right? But that curve is from the water. So if you get watercolor paper specifically, you shouldn't have a lot of, it's called warping, right? It's bending the paper, it's bending the fibers. I might get some of that today because I'm hoping to add a lot of tea, a lot of coffee to this paper. But this will do the job of watercolor for now. Let's see, what else do I have out? I've got my brushes, I got my water, I got my tea. I also have just a metal straw in case I need to transfer any tea if I wanted to make a different thick, like light or dark, right? If I want to change it up, add some variety in just the shades of the tea or the coffee, I'll just kind of use this to add some water, and I might demonstrate that. Just grab it just in case. So let's go over what I have ready. So I took 3 tea bags and steeped them in this little glass jar. Maybe I'll pour this in a different glass so you can see past the stickers. So this is my 4 tea bag tea. This is a black tea, black Lipton tea. And then from that I made these different shades of color. And I think I'll transfer some of these as well to less busy jars so you can see them a little better. Alright. And we'll do, we'll add this to this one. We'll split it in half. Alright. Now we've got this out of the way. Make some room in the workspace. Alright, so this was 4 tea bags that I steeped. I just put some hot water in there and put the 4 tea bags in. Let it sit for maybe 10 minutes. And it got pretty dark, right? This will be our dark color. And then I poured half of the original into this jar and then half of that into this jar. Okay. Then I added some water to thin out the tea. So I'll show you as an example in case I lost you. I took some of my dark tea and then I took just some plain water and then I was able to make a lighter colored tea. The reason we do that is I think I'm going to paint a landscape today. A little fun fact about Garrett Leo, the ceramic artist. When I first started making art, I went to Lane Tech here in Chicago, Lane Tech High School. And I took a watercolor painting class where I painted landscapes. And that's actually the work that I applied to the School of the Art Institute with and got into initially was my watercolor landscape. So I'll be doing I'll go a little Bob Ross on you today and do a watercolor landscape. All right, so we'll need a variety because we're not using colors, it's all gonna be pretty much a lot of browns and oranges and tans. I want a variety. So I've got my dark tea and then you just dilute it with water, right? I add water to that tea to make different shades. So I'll put it right here so you can see the difference, right? So it's the same tea, but you can tell this is the lightest, and then going forward, it just gets a little bit more stronger, right? Just depends on how long you steep the tea and then how many tea bags you use. So get a little experimental with it. There's no right or wrong. I just kind of did that as a start. All right, we've got a lot of people on Facebook. Thank you for joining in. if this is your first stream with CreatiVets, my name is Garrett Lee. I'm the art director. We'll be doing some coffee and tea paintings today. Just a little bit about CreatiVets before I continue is our mission is to empower veterans with healing through arts and music. So what we're hoping to do across all of our streams, we've streamed for the past week. We've had quite a few visiting artists on, and so just provide some opportunity for you all at home during this social distancing to have something to do and express yourself. Try to get something going. All right. So this again is coffee and tea. You should, if you drink coffee, drink tea. If you use pop, you could do something with the different shades of color that you get from pop. Right. That might be a little sticky. This doesn't have sugar in it, but this is just to get the ideas flowing with what you can use already at your home to make art. And this is my coffee. Right. So in comparison to my coffee and black tea, it's almost the same, honestly. Like my heavily steeped tea and my coffee, I could have made the coffee a little stronger. It's slightly darker than my black tea, but this will be used for like my really detail work. All right. If anyone has any questions about myself or the art or anything I do once I get started, please drop a message. I can see everyone's comments and I can see everyone joining us. With that, I'm just going to get started. So I think I'm going to wing it. I am not going to use, pardon the noise. I'm just going to lay these out on my table because I like being able to see my options for brushes. I think I'm going to do a landscape. Maybe some mountains, some trees. Like I said, channel my inner Bob Ross today. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this my lightest tea, and I'm going to kind of do a quick underpainting. Camera looks awesome. Yeah, it does. Perfect. Got a new camera, so we have the perfect view, so you can really see the details that I'll be working on in this painting. Got a pretty professional setup, thanks to the hard workers at CreatiVets. So I'm going to use my lightest tea to kind of do an underpainting. Now, an underpainting, when you do paintings, that's pretty much like the sketch. Some people actually sketch with pencil for their paintings. I have done that before. Other people do what is called an underpainting. So you pick a tone or a color and you paint the whole basic outlines, shapes, all the forms you want, your composition, right? The makeup of your art piece. And then you can go back over it and add the details. So, like I said, I'm going to wing it. So we're going to see how this goes. What brush do I want to start with? For any people that might be curious about what types of brushes to use, again, since we're using coffee and tea heavily water-based, get watercolor brushes. And actually, I'm going to grab... Did I put it in there? Maybe I mixed it up with all this. Oh, here it is. This is the brush that came with my Crayola watercolor paint set. I'll start with this just because if you've already acquired the watercolor paint set, this might be what you're working with. All right. So I'll take my tea and we'll see how this goes. Yeah. So we'll just start. Maybe I'll do. Definitely going to need to use a darker tea. Okay, so I'm going to switch to the second darkest tea. I don't know if you can see that. Oh, you can kind of see it, right? Super light so that I can go back there later. And I'm not, and this is just my preference, I'm not going to go super detailed on this painting. It's going to be a little blurry, a little fuzzy. That's all good. If you want to get super technical and super detailed with it, go for it. Oh, just dropped a bit. I should probably have paper towels. I'll get that next. So I'm going to do like a road. So this is my road perspective. I'm going to add my horizon line where the road ends. And then I'm actually drawing inspiration from my summer home, or my parents' and grandparents' summer home in West Virginia. So there's this trail that we walk on down the holler, and you can just walk through the mountains and just a dirt road and see all the neighbors and the wildlife. Maybe the cows are out, or the donkeys, depending on what animals people have at the time. So I'm doing a road. I'm going to do a fence next to it. You can't really see. This is going to be hard because I'm going to try to pick it up as least as I can. So you can kind of see that fence there, right? And then we'll do some mountains. So I'll do some trees here. I'm going to switch to the darkest, you know. There we go. And do the mountains there. So in experimenting with this just right now, I realized that you really need to use a concentrated tea. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to adapt a little bit. And I'm going, oh, pardon the noise. Sorry about that. People are like, oh, I'm done watching this guy. All right, so I'm going to make a really strong tea. So I'm realizing that the light tea doesn't really transfer over that well. So I'm just going to add 2 more bags to my super, super dark tea. I'm actually going to pour out some of that water. So I really want to concentrate that tea color. All right, so I thought maybe the route was to do the variety. Maybe it's just concentrate and then dilute with your brush. All right, so I'm going to take that. Give me 1 second, actually. Let me grab some paper towels. All right, I'm back. So I grabbed a paper towel just so that I can get rid of that tea and then get going with the dark tea. All right, same thing. Working on that underpainting. A little water at a time. Like I said, you could paint whatever you'd like. If you want to just kind of experiment and make some different shades and patterns and things, I'd say go for it. Like I said, I'm going to try and paint a landscape. So the trick with this, I don't do this that often, is everything needs to be a shade. As it gets farther away from you, maybe it lightens it up. As it gets closer, it's darker. Do a tree here. Don't know what kind of tree it is, just know it's a tree. I had a little coffee. Even that's too weak. Man. We're gonna really adapt now. We're gonna mix the coffee and tea. So here's the tip: if you're just now joining us with the amateur coffee tea painter Garrett Augustyn, make your stuff really, really strong. Because at least with this paper, it's not transferring over very easily. So I'm making it a little bit stronger. With my brush, I'm using the bristles, right? I'm not holding it on the metal. I'm holding it like right next to it, but I'm on this black part of the brush, right? Because I want to have a lot of control on it. Maybe it's got some little branches. I'm going to keep going with this really dark tea I got going. I'll add another branch going that way. All right, you can kind of see, without tilting it too much, I've got my walkway, my tree, and I've got some crying mountains, it looks like right now. All right. Maybe I'll do, I don't know, maybe I'll do some, add some color for maybe some grass. Maybe I'll have tree trunk laying there. Alright, a little dot there. Maybe on the road I've got some rocks. Now at the back, I'm going to try to make it a little bit darker. I've got a suggestion. Here we go. Yeah, if you use hot water to faster bleed a tea, this was hot just a moment ago. So it's not right now. But it's working. Do some clouds in the sky. Now if they're super far away, they're smaller. Now the trick with this is going to be adding layers. So again, I'm not using a watercolor paper, so it's not absorbing it as fast as I like it to. But the trick is to add layers on top of layers of your paint to make a darker, richer color. So that's what I'm going to try to do. As I see things starting to dry, I'm just going back on top with my tea, with my coffee. I'm adding some layers. I'm going to do a second row of mountains now. Do the same thing. Okay, I'm just making some stronger tea. And I'm going to take my old tea bags, put those in the coffee. We're going to experiment with that one. Really make a concentrated batch. See, I've got a question. What kind of brush works best with tea or water paints? A watercolor brush. They have those. So yeah, I mean, I'm using a variety of brushes that I've collected. Like I said, these are the ones that I just have readily accessible. This one that I'm using right now came with a watercolor brush set. So it's a soft bristle tip. Not sure what type of bristle it's using, but this is what came with the set right there. So I'm going to add in some ground where my tree is. I think I'll add some more trees in the background. So I'm adding, this looks just like bristle. Yeah, so Ben, someone asked me, just bristle question mark. The bristle is the hairs on the end of your brush. If you were asking me about the Bristol Paper, that's the type of paper that I'm using. But a bristle for a brush is that part right there. And now I'm just adding some more trees. Now on the tree limbs that I previously painted, I'm going back over, adding another layer, and I'm adding some leaves. And again, the trick for this is just adding layers upon layers. I'm going to go back over my little fence that I started painting. And I really want that fence to, there we go, to kind of stand out. But as it goes into the distance, I want it to start disappearing. I'll show you what I have in a second. And I'm just adding some light application of tea in the sky. And I've already kind of laid out my clouds, so I have a good outline for them. I'm just adding some color to the sky. Using the brush, not squishing it down and rubbing it back and forth. I'll give you Ooh, hold on. Let me take off some of these puddles before I pick up and show you where it's at. And I might stop this one and then start another one so this one can dry so I can add some more layers. So if you see, there we go. You didn't see that. Here we go. So I've got my little walkway path going into the distance. Over here, oh, let's see. These lights are so bright. There we go. I've got my mountains in the background, some clouds. I've added some color to the sky. Over here, I've got this big tree in the foreground. Right in the foreground, it's close to you. Farther away, it's the foreground. It's the background. Just tipping that tea back so it doesn't fall off the paper. And then over here, I've got this big open field with some trees there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this to the side so that it can dry a little bit so I can go back in and make some dark areas. And I'll start another one. So for the other one, I'll do a self-portrait. Why not? So again, the trick is to add layers upon layers until you get it the colors that you want. I'm concentrating some batches. And that's just steeping the tea and the coffee to the point that I want it. Again, if they were hot, coffee and tea, not the greatest combo, it would steep a little faster. All right? So portrait. I'm going to do 2 paintings at the same time today. Portrait is the head, the neck, the shoulders. If you haven't joined any of the streams before, you can go check out our stream that we did with myself and Zachary called the Drawing Games. And we play a bunch of games to help you draw a little bit better, practice your hand-eye coordination, and you do portraits, right? It's like a little game you can play. So I'll start with, again, an underpainting. I'm going to try to get the shape of my head. Real light. Right. And I'm going to do the neck. I might have to let this dry a little bit too. And I'll do my shirt. Like I said, you can paint whatever you'd like with this. This is just the start. You know, use these materials however you'd like. So if you do make a work of art today, take a picture of it, upload it on Facebook, or I'll do the Rage shirt. Facebook or Instagram, tag us in it. We'd love to see what people make. I'm actually doing the Rage shirt I have on, Rage Against the Machine. Curious to see. We have quite a few viewers right now. Send a comment. Where's everyone at? We've had people from the UK join us. We've had people from Australia, across the US. Curious to see where you're from. All right, so here's a start of my portrait. I've got my Rage shirt. I've got the outline. I'm going to do the hair next. Now the hair, because my hair is dark, that's where I'm going to need to definitely do a couple layers. And I'm brushing up, right? So where this, where my hair is, I'm not brushing down making lines. I'm brushing it up so you can almost just get the shadows. And I'm not going to paint the whole thing brown. I actually want to leave some white spaces. That's a really easy way to suggest some shine in the hair. Now I'm adding quite a bit of paint, or of tea. curls. I don't think my neck is wide enough. I'm going to kind of widen that. Add some shadow there. I'm going to do my face. Here we go. All right, start with the eyebrows. Going real light to start. Then adding that tea. Let's see. Now this is getting I'm going to get into some small details, so I'm going to actually switch to my smaller brushes. So I can get some more detailed in there, more detail work for my eyes. Luckily I have brown eyes, so it all works out. I think they're too close together. It's starting to look like Beavis and Butthead. Adding my beard. Starting to look a little like Stallone. All right, here we go. This is what it's starting to look like. Boom! My hair is way too big. Almost got like a pompadour mullet going on. But, you know, having fun. All right, we're going to go back to the landscape. Landscape is dried quite a bit. So swapping back, I've got a good, just like very minimal details on there. Everything's kind of the same color. We're going to try to make some areas darker. I want the trees up front and that fence specifically to be dark. So let's see if we can get that. Oh yeah. Subtle, but darker. Leaving some areas white, so I got some highlights on the tree. I think I'm gonna go get some of my hot water to make some of my tea a little, speed up the steeping process. All right, so we'll take a second. Let me get, let's see, what am I gonna grab? I'll use this cup. All right, I'm back. Got some hot water. I'm gonna add some of my coffee to it. We'll do like a half scoop. Don't spill that. I wish I had a French press, because I would be able to get all this little grounds out of it a lot easier. I don't have have a coffee maker at home or a French press. Actually, if anyone's interested, how I steeped the coffee without a coffee maker or French press, just put it in a cup, let it steep, right? Let it soak in there. And then I poured that over just a cloth into another cup. So the cloth kind of filtered out, acted as a coffee filter. All right. I mean, this stuff's dark. So I'm just going to paint with it. If I get some of the grounds in the painting, I'm going to take creative freedom to just let that happen. I had a little ponytail, my painting ponytail, real quick. Now that my self-portrait has been painted and I look like a Beavis and Butthead character. There we go. Alright, we're going to put that in there. Here we go. Let's see if this does any better. Ooh, yeah, there's grounds in there. Ooh, you know what? I kind of like that with the tree. Gives it like a bark texture. So if you want anything to have texture, just leave the coffee grounds in it. Like I said, it's all about experimenting, seeing what you can do. Maybe you don't want the coffee grounds in it. I kind of like it. Adds a little dimension to my trees. So I'm going to do the same thing to my tree right there. Just slowly paint. Increasing that coffee stain strength. Now you don't have to stick with just coffee and tea. Like I said earlier, find out what other drinks you got at home that you can do. I would experiment with my lemonade mix, but don't want to do that. Let's see. Hold on. Oh, I moved my whole video. Perhaps the coffee grounds will give the effect like your salt use. So that's a great comment, Karen. In the watercolor painting, I added salt to my colors. You can see here. Actually, this is a great little follow-up. If you watch the painting demo, the salt kind of crystallizes that paint and leaves this really awesome texture there. So maybe the coffee grounds will do that. It might. I have a feeling it's just going to get a little gross on there and just like leave a texture. Which, like I said, I'm using it for my trees right now, which I like. I'm not going to use this coffee ground mixture anywhere else. I'm just going to put it on the trees. So I'm doing this little background area of trees right now. And I added it to my trees here on the right. Now I just did a little outline of the ground so you can kind of get where things are. And like I said, I know when I started this, I wanted to keep it a little fuzzy, a little blurry, because in order to get really high detail with the coffee, you got to do it layers and layers and layers and have really intensely strong coffee, so steep it for a really long time. I did this just a moment ago. I'm going to wash this is going to be my washing, sorry about that noise, my washing cup. And I'm going to go with some of this tea again. Now I'm going to go in, again, just kind of retracing those mountains that I made, going in new areas because this is a slightly lighter color than where I've layered up all that tea. And some grass in the field. I wish I had one of those little coffee pots that heat up with the electrical cord. Maybe I should have did this painting demo in my kitchen. That would have been fun. I'm just adding a little texture to my grass area. Let's get an update. See where we're at. So I've got drips. Hold on. Let me kind of trace that. There we go. We're gonna go quick. So here, it's coming together. I'm actually pretty proud with how this is turning out. We've got the trees over here, right? This is my walk path I wanted, right? Going up the holler. On the right, it's hard to see it. I'm gonna tilt it again. That is like my grassy field. These trees are a little still too blurry for me. I'm going to try to work on that area, but I've got a really nice mountain top in the back. So let's keep working on the background. All right. I'm going to try this. I've had that steeping over there for a bit. Ooh, that's good. That's good right there. On that mountain. I'm gonna do some more layers on my little fence. Now I've been pretty liberal with the amount of tea bags I've been using. Like I said, this was an experiment to kind of see how the setup works. If I were to do this again, I would just get really hot water, small little glass, put maybe 5 tea bags in there, and make a really highly concentrated batch. Because that is what I'm doing. Make a concentrated batch, and that'll work a little bit better. I'm gonna go over this area. I might have to keep swapping out my tea water because my heat is going away. I'm leaving some areas of white in the mountains. I'm gonna try to make the actual mountain edge really dark so that stands out from the sky, but leaving a nice little gradient, so having it really dark on the edge and then kind of blending out into light so that there's some dimension. Do the same thing for the mountain down here. And again, I said, as it goes further into the distance, maybe it's a little lighter, right? But you still want to be able to see the difference between the two. I'm going to continue that. And put some more like tree suggestions over here. Now these don't have to be super detailed because I've got a whole bunch of stuff. So I'm just going to do some lines and then some textures going left and right for my branches. Add some more. Larger grouping of texture towards the back of the trail to suggest big clumps of stuff. And then up front, I'm getting really small and detailed because I want it to kind of look like gravel. So again, texture, if you missed I forgot which stream I mentioned that on. But texture is the way something looks like it might feel, or the way something feels is texture. So I'm just making it look like different materials. So I've got this tree, I've got the tree texture, right? I actually use some of the coffee grounds. I have this like stippled effect, right? Lots of dots for the gravel. I'm gonna show this again before I put it to the side to dry. Again, patience. Boom. Right, I've got these tiny little dots to suggest gravel. Over here I've got these lines. They kind of blended together because I kept tilting it, but we'll try to get those back. And then I've got the trees on the left. In the background I've got some big mountains in the sky. I'm going to set this to the side, let this dry a little bit more. Let's bust out that self-portrait. There we go. So he's pretty ugly. He's pretty, like I said, pretty Beavis and Butthead. But, you know, we'll go with it. Sounds good. All right. So now, for this, I've got the outline. I'm going to do another quick outline of it. Really make those lines pop out. So I added a couple areas of shading. This I'm going over, you know, re-outlining my face. I've got a very round shaped face. Now I can add a little brown on the inside of the hair. Right, so I'm re-outlining what I already painted to kind of thicken that stain, right? It's not paint, you're staining the paper. And now I'm going in and also adding color at the same time, right? Filling in that space. So redrawing or repainting what I've already painted because I want that area to be darker and to stand out. And then I'm adding some of my stain to color the hair. Right, get my curls. Very humid day. Humid. I'm just suggesting. My eyes are scary. Kind of messed up my left one a little bit. I'll put an eye patch on him. Going over my mustache again. Again, I want my hair to be pretty dark. Adding my beard again. Oh, I just dripped. It's all good. Take a paper towel. Blot it off. Don't wipe it. Just blot it off. And again, this isn't, doesn't have to be anything. I look like a caveman. This doesn't have to be anything, you don't have to show this to anyone. You can just do it for yourself, just to have the practice and have a little fun. My shirt's black, so I'm actually going to try to add some color to it. I'm actually filling in that space. I'm going to paint in the lettering, because the lettering is black, but I'm going to leave the area around it white for now, right? It's all about layers. So I'm going to make that darker, but I need the letters to be initially this shade. Painting all the letters in. I'm actually going to, let's see if I can pick up this camera. Oh, pardon the noise. Oh, here we go. Hold up. Hey, here we go. Boom. Now I don't have to pick it up. Look at that. Right? I added those darker areas to make that line. I painted the shirt. So that's just a little layer. Boom. Right back to where it was. Expert level. There we go. Okay. Set this to the side. Right? I'm swapping back and forth. That's how you gotta do it. It's gonna make a lot of art. Now these will be pretty light. Right, these will be light paintings because you are using, right, I said right about 500 times in that sentence. The tea and the coffee is not painting, it's not coating the paper, it's staining it. So you're really just working with stains, right? So it's going to be light unless you just keep doing this, you know. Maybe I set this stuff to the side and do a second one, you know, tomorrow. Karen Lynn says that looks like Barry Gibbs, so it doesn't look like me is what you're saying. Hello from Perrysburg, Ohio. What's going on, Ohio? How's it going on over there? Here is the painting of the holler. This one's a little messy. I tried going really fast on this one. As much as I look like Barry Gibb in the other painting, that one I have a little bit more control on. Good to experiment and do more things. All right, here we go. First thing I'm tackling is this fence, because I really want this fence to be dark. I want it to stand out. Now, this would be a good... Maybe we'll do a dual painting thing. Maybe I'll add a little India ink in here, painting with that. We'll see. I don't know. We'll see. We got someone from Spokane. We get flagged for saying that wrong. Spokane. Shout out to you. So maybe I'll add a little India ink. Mix it up a bit. Hey, honestly, might leave this where it is, because it needs to dry. So if your painting starts to feel like, you know, it's not moving a lot, right? The colors aren't changing, it's starting to get muddied. We might have to stop with this one for today, because I have a lot going on. And that's the thing, you know, these might not be 1 hour or 10 minutes and it's done. Some work you'll need to keep working on, right? And just fill in those little areas. I'm actually moving that coffee ground around, being a little bit more specific to where I want it. See, I got a comment here. Right on, keeping kids entertained along with you today. Right on. Glad to have you all here. If you haven't seen our other streams, we have a couple kid-friendly activity projects that you can go check out on our. If you're watching on Facebook, right on. You can find those past videos. Take a little detour. We did a painting with watercolor for a cityscape, right? So I talked about a lot of different types of art concepts, contrast, color schemes. I went over the basics of watercolor with that. And then we also did, it's one of our first couple streams, we did some salt dough. So if you're looking for an activity to do and you don't want to do coffee or tea paintings today, but you have flour, salt, and water, you can make some salt dough. And if you've never done that before, that's for, you can bake it in an oven or let it air dry once you're done sculpting with it. It's basically like a Play-Doh, right? But you can bake it in an oven when you're done or let it air dry and it becomes like a little sculpture that you can paint on with regular paint. Now I'm just going in here and adding little small amounts of coffee. Or this is like a coffee and tea mixture. Right, because I want us to get that variation in colors. This is also, if you wanted to do, maybe I'll do that with one of these on the back. If you want to make get creative with some stained or aged looking papers, you could paint a whole piece of paper with this, might even work with printer paper with this in mind. Paint the whole thing with this, stain it with the coffee or the tea, and then you can, you know, scribe on it with a pen or an ink dip thing, and then you can make it into like a treasure map or a treasure chest, pirate, letter, whatever. Look a little aged. Here, hold on. Kids are going crazy over Salto. Let me show you something. I've got it right over here. I've had it drying. Let me grab it. We're taking a detour to Salt Dough Revisited. All right, so we've got a family watching with, and we're curious about Salt Dough. So, like I said, that video is on our YouTube channel and Facebook page, but I actually didn't get to show these finished. So Salt Dough, this one's actually, you can see that moisture's still there, so it's pretty soft. But it's got, this side's dry, and I've just let this sit out since last week. So the thickness of it depends on how long it takes to dry. So I made this little face. I made a lot of stuff, but this is the stuff that I decided to keep. I made a Chicago style hot dog with all the toppings: tomato, pickle, mustard, sport pepper, poppy seed bun, right? I talked about you could press objects into the clay. So this actually is from my little lobster keychain, right? Made a little, I think I call them artifacts or fossils. And then I did make some sunny side up eggs, right? And these are pretty much, I mean, these are pretty dry. So with these, you can paint on them with an acrylic or tempera paint, and you can have little sculptures, coat them with a little Mod Podge, whatever you'd like. But this is, if you're interested, we have that video up. Another kind of, if you have the ingredients at home, you can do it. All right, I've detoured from my painting. But yeah, just if you're thinking, who is that asked that? Seth? Seth, the recipe, in case you want to finish watching this, then you're going to jump on that. It's 2 cups of flour, 1 cup of salt, and then I believe it's 1 cup of water, if I remember it correctly. We posted the actual recipe, so you just have to find that. And I say it about 500 times in the video itself. So if you're interested in that, do it. Super simple. Like I said, you could keep it and reuse it as a homemade Play-Doh. I dyed. This one obviously is green. Obviously, maybe it's not. Right? Ooh, that guy's pretty nice. And then I've got some yellow. Right? It's all the same dough. I just added some food coloring. I think at most I added like 6 drops to make the green as dark as it is. Like I said, you could paint them. And what I'm doing now is just adding bits of little tiny details. Right, I went very general, made those general big shapes, and now I'm going in adding some texture and making some lines stick out. And it's all about how fast this paper can dry, because I need it to dry before I can add more, otherwise it just kind of blurs together and doesn't really add anything. So I'm at the mercy of this paper. Like I said, this paper is a Bristol paper meant for ink, so it absorbs the ink so that it doesn't spread, right? But we kind of want our watercolor paper to do that so it can absorb it faster. This is just kind of slowing the process. Let's show an updated. Maybe I'll lift the camera and we'll go on another field trip. Here we go. Boom, here we go. Field trip. So, yeah. So here's our little walking path. We've got our trees on the right. You can see back there, there's some suggested trees. Over here I've got, sorry this is shaking, that I'm shaking. And then over here I've got some, just like a big open field. This is the one spot that I really am not happy with. these like trees that I want here. They kind of just got blurred into the mountain. It's fine, you know. Let it dry, add some more details later. Let's see, do I have anything laying around that I could just put in there? I don't. I had little army men. Yeah, just imagine, you know, little lobsters walking down the path. Pretty cool. Put this guy back up there. Boom. Boom. All right, so this one I think is done for the day. I can tell the paper is warping, right? It's bending. Look at this camera, this guy up here. Where's he at? Right there. It's starting to warp a little bit. That's because I'm adding a lot of water to it, and I have a lot of puddles. I need this to dry before I keep detailing. I'm going to work on that portrait some more. But just for if you do anything that it's this detailed, like I said, it's about adding layers, so it does need to dry before you can keep doing things and making things darker. If you want to switch it up and do some drawings in there as well, go for it. I'm actually tempted on doing some just like ink pen drawing on top of this, right? Using this paint layer as a base of color and then adding the black on top. I think that would look really cool. So if you don't follow my Instagram, follow it at Man Glazed Black. I will finish this drawing with some ink and post the results in my story. So let's finish. Let's work a little bit more on my weird self-portrait. Real quick, if anyone is curious on seeing some of our past examples or my work in general, or if you want to see what these finished paintings look like later, that is my Instagram, Man Glazed Black. Follow me, share my stuff. I post a lot of CreatiVets things and share a lot of their stuff as well. My hair's getting wild. I'm gonna take my hair tie out. All right, so working on this. Just adding some, again, just going over those lines, right? I want those to be dark because that's pretty much like the drawing part. So I want them to stick out. I'm going over where I want them to be darker, which is all around the shirt. I actually added, you can't really see my collar that well, but I always like drawing shirts with that little trim with, you can see the stitches on there. Now, right, I'm adding another layer to my letters, making them a little darker, and I'm going to add a light bit of tea around it. So like I said, that first layer of letter coloring was to just get some color on there. Now that it's darker, I can add some more tea around it to kind of make the difference between my black and my yellow, right? So again, you're kind of like building it from the ground level up, right? One layer all in the back and you're bringing it up. John, glad to have you on here. Is this the last session for today? I don't believe so. I believe, and let me just double check. I think we have something going on at 7. I think it's Brett with some guitar, some music info. Let me get that checked for you. Take another detour. Here we go. Let me get my schedule up. All right, so yes, we'll have a beginner guitar stream at 7 o'clock today. So once I hop off here in a little bit, head over there if you want to follow up with Brett in our guitar for beginners. Even if you don't have a guitar, it's good to learn some stuff. I know I've been putting the stream on when I'm not streaming, as I'm kind of working around my apartment. just like have some voices going on. Just hear people talk about stuff. It's pretty interesting. That was honestly one of the hardest things for me to do when we started this was just, I mean, I'm a big talker. If you can't tell by how much I talk to myself in these videos. But I love talking to people and hearing about the things that they do, and especially when it comes to art or music. But streaming is a whole different ballgame. I mean, just sit and make art and talk to like yourself out loud. I mean, it's great when I have comments. So those of you that have been with us, I know, John, you've been here almost like every stream. I think you might have been here for every stream. I'm not sure. At least all the ones recently you've been here, which has been awesome. Having your questions, being able to talk to you about what you're curious about. For any new streamers, or not new streamers, any new viewers, if you haven't watched any other video, CreatiVets' mission is to empower veterans through the arts and through music. So a lot of our programs, I mean all of our programs have been paused due to the coronavirus and having to social distance. So we kind of wanted to bring everything and be accessible to everyone. So we're doing that by getting a lot of really fantastic artists and musicians to do some demos for us, do some little classes. And we're working on some very exciting plans for getting the resources out to people that are interested to do these classes and have the materials ready. Yeah, John, you missed the first few, I think. Did you end up going back and watching those? Just out of curiosity? We're glad you're here now. That's for sure. Okay, so now I'm doing, I'm actually adding some shadows to my face. Right, some highlights. So my lightest areas would be where the light hits my face. So my cheeks, my nose, my forehead right there is where the lights are. I'm almost going to look like sunburn in a second. Excuse me, just add a little bit more texture to my shirt. Don't want it so flat. Just adding some scribbles. Suggest it feels like something, right? Now I'm starting to blend in. I literally look like, oh, it's like melting. I'm melting. Don't do that. I'm gonna lift my camera. Haven't yet watched I have watched the Doodling Duo one. Yeah, that one was fun. Moving the camera again. Sorry if you're watching. You're probably like, what's going on? I'm like crying here. Fix that. So with this one, I mean, it's all right. I made my face way too small, like the actual face part. I've got a big head, and maybe I was just trying to deny it. The hair is also very pompadour mullety. Right now my hair is a little frizzy, but it's way longer in the back than it is like height wise. So next time I would kind of bring that down. But all in all, it's a good little starter portrait, right? You can see in here by adding that second layer, the letters are standing out from the background. Once this area looks really dark because it's just got a little pool of tea there, but that'll dry in and kind of get a little lighter. John says that looks great. Thank you, John. Thank you. I mean, if you know, I'll show you an example now that we're here. A little, another side trip. If you know the type of work that I do, like I said, you can follow my Instagram. I'll be posting a lot of pictures of like my portrait drawings on a different account. You can find that in the link. It's like in the bio of my Manglaze Black account. But how I normally draw figures, can you see that? They're very exaggerated. They're like almost cartoons, like caricatures, right? There's another one. These are just some doodles I did. Thank you, Mr. 21214, for the sticker for the sparks. It's not popping up on my thing. I gotta fix that, but I see them. Thank you. I appreciate it. So these are like, this is how I draw on my own. So I was trying to draw realistically with the paint, like drawing myself, and it didn't come out how I'd like. But when I draw things, they get pretty cartoony. Here's a pretty scary, like, politician monkey guy that I doodled. When me and Zachary were doing our drawing games. So yeah, I mean, I personally draw a little exaggerated just because I really like to do that. I don't draw realistic if I have a choice. Okay. Maybe I'll put this to the side. Let me show you the landscape, how that's drying. And maybe I'll do one more painting. One more painting and we'll call it quits for today. There's my landscape. It's looking pretty good. I mean, I got that drip racing to the bottom of the paper. Not bad. You can kind of see what I was going for, like a little trail, the trees, the mountains, the little field, right? Again, this is actually really fun to paint with. Just a review for people that weren't here when I was struggling at front. I thought I was cool. I had like a little nice gradient of different strengths of tea. I was like, oh, this is gonna be cool. Now I've got all these shades. I can just, throw together a painting and be awesome. Art is always a great opportunity to learn some things. So if you do want to make some tea or coffee paintings, here are my tips, right, in doing this live with you today. Make a very concentrated color, right? So brew your coffee super strong, brew your tea, like steep it with, I did half of this filled, did 5 tea bags with hot water. I would bring it down to this height, right? Not a lot at all. Do 5 bags, make it super strong, and then your coffee, again, make it super strong. If you got a Keurig, maybe run a couple of those little pouches through it so you get a really strong coffee. And then just thin it out. It's easier to thin it out than it is to make it darker because, like I said, this is a good start, but I have a lot more to do because from a distance, I mean, it's all one color. I mean, in person, I can see it a little bit better than the camera does. But I would make a super concentrated batch so that as you apply it to your paper, if you need to thin it, you just add a little water to the paper and thin it out. So don't try to make a gradient, just make a very concentrated coffee or tea. I ended up putting like 6 tea bags in my coffee that I made, and I didn't make super strong coffee because if you were here, I didn't brew coffee in a coffee press or a coffee pot. I just poured it in a cup, mixed it, and then put a little rag over it and poured the coffee into the new cup so I filtered out all the coffee grounds. So if you need a DIY coffee filter, just put a rag over it and drain it, and then squeeze the rag and then throw the coffee grounds out. If you can see, I actually painted with, I just kind of stirred up some hot water and coffee in here. Maybe I'll try that. That's been sitting there for a while. We'll see. But you can see I tried out painting with the coffee grounds. Cool effect. It worked here, not so much over there. Not so much. Let's see if this coffee is pretty strong. I don't think it is. It's not. I mean, it's hard to see on the camera for one, because it's very slight color change, but the coffee is definitely a colder color, and the tea is a warmer color, right? It's got a little bit more oranginess to it, and the coffee, like I said, is just a little, honestly, a little bluer when you look at them together. So put that to the side. Good start. I'm not gonna stream for 17 hours while this dries, and I'm showing you it. The portrait looks pretty good. I like that. I'll do one more, little quick one maybe. Let's see what I got. Do I got another slice of paper? I have another slice of paper. Here we go. So, what should I paint now? Any suggestions? I'll give you a moment. Any suggestions on what I should paint next? Thank you for joining us. If I have not said that already, I think I have. I said that quite a bit. Thank you. blank canvas. Do I attempt another landscape? I think I am going to. I'm going to redeem myself. Here we go. We're going to do a lake. All right. So I'm going to start with... That's the lake. We're going to do... some ground. Maybe I'll have some rocks coming out of the lake. Mummy. It's too late. I already started the lake. Maybe I'll do a little mummy. Some mountains. We'll do a little log cabin here. Let's see. John has a question. Are you 3D printing the army figurines you are working on? Good question, John. Are you talking about the little toy soldier drawings that I've been doing? We are in the process of working with a company to get some made. Richard and I have talked quite a bit about some art pieces that we wanted to collaborate on. That print being one of them. If you're on my Instagram, there's a print we titled Toy Soldiers. There's actually, got it right here. Another little field trip. Who would have thought coffee and tea would have had me talking about all this stuff. One of these prints, look at that. So I drew and designed all these figurines, brainstormed with the team. It was a huge collaborative effort, just kind of talking about, art and the veteran experience and all the people that we work with. And that piece, we really like the idea of having toy soldiers being equipped with something else, right? The tools that we can equip people with as they start their artistic and musical careers, right? So I don't know how I got in that. We're trying to figure out, like I said, I'm working with a company right now to get some figurines made that would be reminiscent of or based off of those drawings. I had a lot of fun drawing those. Very meaningful project. It's about the 20 suicides a day by active and veterans. And yeah, let me just double check. The 14 that don't seek help, the 6 that do, and their colors. So the green is the color for a TBI, the official color, and then the teal is the official color for PTS. So just the piece was just a huge conceptual brainstorm together. What is a toy soldier? Like the loss of innocence. That's a great thing when Richard streams to talk about his work and what that means, the loss of innocence, but then having these figurines kind of represent people throughout their lives, and like this object you play with as a kid, then you become something else when you become that soldier or that Marine, right? Whatever path you go down. And then having some symbology behind, what tools are they equipping themselves with? What tools are they defending themselves with? And then the colors itself. What does the green color mean? It's very specific. What does the teal color mean? It's very specific. And just kind of using it as a talking piece with both veterans and civilians and, veteran advocates that we meet to kind of talk about concept, right? The meaning behind art. And the work that we do here at CreatiVets talking about, what is, you can say a lot with a little, or you could say nothing at all and have your art say it. That's something that we try to figure out during our art programs is, how much do you want to tell your audience? That's something that I usually ask our participants. You don't have to tell them anything. You can have your piece say everything. You can have your piece spoon feed the audience, as I say, meaning you're not giving them a lot. They gotta have to figure it out themselves, or it could spoon feed, right? Write out exactly what you're feeling. Show exactly what you're feeling. Do another tree there. This one's looking a lot better. I think I overthought that other one. This one I'm just kind of painting. Right? I'm gonna do a little boat here. Oh yeah, the boat was the move. This one is the winner. Check this out. Check this out. Boom. That is a little bit better. This is there we go. Trying to find the right spot. That's pretty good. We got, if I do say so myself, move my keyboard. We've got the mountains. We've got the little log cabin. Could work on the shadows there. We've got this small lake. Got a little canoe boat. Dropped it again. A little canoe boat. We got my crying moon now. Fix that. Right? That was a lot better. I spilled a little on my keyboard. Whoa. Get that off. But yeah, so this is tea painting. I'll go over, if you had just joined at the end, you're like, this dude's praising himself on this very basic tea painting. I'm excited about it. Get excited about your work. But let's compare. This is the painting I started with right here. So actually, yeah, look. Very different colors. Let's just look at that for a second. This is one layer all the way across. This was, as you saw, I was painting and painting, painting. I actually didn't see the colors changing that much, but as you can tell, it has changed quite a bit. Let me move some of this. Pardon the noise. Ooh, almost knocked my light over. Careful with that. Painting, like that, right? So just looking at the paint, like I said, painting with coffee or tea, here's the breakdown of what to do. Brew your coffee very strong. Steep your tea for a long time. Make it a very concentrated batch so that you don't have to do what I did, which is a million layers. You most likely will be, you will have to do a lot of layers, but you won't have to start so light. You might be able to start at this point and then go. Paper, I'm using a Bristol paper. Watercolor paper will help this process. So if you are going to go out and buy paper or get paper shipped to you, make sure it's a watercolor paper because that'll allow the paint to absorb in a better way so that the stain, right, we're not actually painting, we're staining the paper with the coffee and the tea. The paper will absorb it better if it's watercolor. But make a concentrated batch, add layer upon layer, right? In looking back at how I started, I've got the areas that I wanted to be lighter, like that, the mountains, the trail. Maybe I just do one coat and I don't coat it again. I kept adding coats to all the areas to darken it because I wanted it to be really dark, but maybe embrace the lightness that you can get, right? Almost like this ghost of a painting that's pretty compelling on its own. But you can see from working on it, you can get some really dark colors, right? This tree got really dark. That was the coffee with the coffee grounds. And then same thing with over here. It got really dark. But you can see all the little layers that we did, right? Just over and over again. So make a really strong batch of coffee or tea and then paint over and over again on it. Here is my portrait. Looks decent, right? Got the hair. Like I said, the face I don't think is proportional, but compared to how I normally draw and prefer to draw, that's as realistic as it's gonna get. So I got this like werewolf, scrunchy face man. It doesn't, as I'm looking at it, doesn't look too bad. I'm gonna actually let this because I want to show it. Whoop. See my setup, don't look, that's the surprise. Here we go. So it doesn't look too bad, right? This I'm very proud of. This like slightly darker lettering compared to the background. And then in the face, the beard is starting to get where it needs to be, but now like the shadows that I added in the face, they don't really, like it kind of blends into the beard. So I definitely need to work more on the beard. Hair up here, I'm going to get real close, is really looking nice. You can see all those different areas and layers and changes of color, right? So that's what you get with this. It's really fun to experiment with, and kind of play around with. I mean, I did this in like an hour and a half. But if, I let this all dry, work on it again tomorrow, you can really get some dimension. Let's see, I got a comment from Kyle. I can't wait to see what it is. You know what, Kyle? Kyle's jumping on the bandwagon of what Bart and Ben were saying in my earlier stream, that I'm wearing a shirt that I don't listen to. I do listen to Rage Against the Machine, all right? Too bad your self-portrait isn't wearing a shirt of a band that you don't listen to. I don't even understand your comment. I probably read that wrong. I'm not going to read it again. Anyways, this is tea painting. Again, steep it, brew it really strong, and then thin it out on the paper. That'd be the easiest to go. Use a watercolor paper. The brands that I use today, I use some Lipton tea, and I use some Cafe Bustelo coffee. Together, this was maybe, I don't know. Like I said, I think it was like $7 for both of this. The brush that I used, if you want to kill two birds, one stone, I bought this Crayola watercolor set that I used in the Skyline demo. It came with the brush that I used for almost the whole thing today. Let me show it. This brush, really nice, it works. And I used a smaller one. I had all of these brushes I took out and made a mess, and I didn't use any of them. So get yourself a little watercolor set with the brush included, and then you can paint with watercolor, and then you can paint with the coffee and tea. If this is your first stream, I'm glad that you joined the the coffee and tea painting today. So if you do paint anything, take some pictures of it, send it to me. You can send it to me on my Instagram. Put that in the comments at manglazedblack. Send it to CreatiVets. Definitely tag CreatiVets in it, or send them a message on Facebook or Instagram. We'd love to highlight some of the work that you do. Take pictures while you're working too. See the process. This was one of the coolest things from doing this today for sure. Was I'm glad I did the second landscape, because now I can see how much work I put into this, and you can see it in the colors. So next time, like I said, I have a different approach, different tactic in doing these paintings, and it might come out a little better. That's, again, we're all practicing artists, so practice, keep making stuff. If you're interested in more stuff today, at 7 o'clock, Brett will be doing a live stream intro to guitar. So please tune in for that. That'll be pretty cool. If you want to watch something else before that happens at 7, check out our YouTube channel at CreatiVets, or find us on Facebook, and you can see all of our past streams. If you're interested in planning the rest of your week out with the content that we're going to be putting out there, all the demos that we're going to be doing, go to creativets.org/live. I'm going to post that in the comments right now. /live. It changes. I got this Mac Tower, and it changes it. Spell checks. I'm not spell checking. creativets.org/live. Check that out. Click the link. You'll see the schedule for the rest of this week. And if you do have any suggestions on, stuff you want to see, different types of art, or if you want us to revisit, if you really like watercolor and you're like, can you paint Can you show us how to do a demo with this? Do something else with the watercolor. Do something else with the clay, with the sculpture. Let us know so we can kind of get some more videos out there that people want to see. And definitely, if you know anyone that would be interested in seeing this or have access to it, please share it with them. Share it with your friends, your family, your neighbors, anyone that needs to be working on some art right now while we practice our social distancing. All right. Thanks for joining me today. It has been a blast. We'll leave with the image of my painting next to me. Look at that. Now I'll end it with that. Boom.